what we'll do is, because obviously we're going to spend a lot of time talking about the big names we've already addressed a bit. To have some fun, let's go to the other end of the equation. You guys mentioned some names earlier. So let's do what for you would be the best underdog run that can happen. You can pick whatever angle you want. It could be like it's a fresh team or something about the game, or you like the specific team. So give me an angle. Come on, man. What's an underdog run you'd like?
For narrative's sake, I actually have one that probably has flown under the radar that I think is pretty interesting, is that if Crims is able to actually do something with Fnatic, like, I don't really care that much, honestly, about the Fnatic team, but about Crims's legacy right now. If he's able to make playoffs like he did at Rio and actually just kind of show once again his value as an overall player, like a really solid rifler. Like, when I looked at actually like S-tier LAN trophies for a lot of the big names at this event, Crims is tied with Kerrigan right now with 19. They have 19 S-tier LAN trophies, and Crims has some of the most majors here. Like, with Astralis, most of the Astralis guys being out, the only people that I think are ahead of him are Dupree and Magisk at this major. And so for him to actually go deep with the chance to actually, pull off an upset, show a little bit of that magic at the end of it all, I think that would just be a really cool fairy tale run for him. That being said, I don't really care too much for Nikodas. I don't really care too much for the rest of this team. I just think that for him individually, it would be a really great way to tie a bow on what was a fantastic career throughout the entirety of this game.
So kind of like what you said, Duncan, about Dupree and how he's sort of just like getting pulled to, the 19 majors or whatever, but ultimately is like actually one of the biggest liabilities on Vitality right now. Whereas unfortunately for Crims, he's kind of trying to carry from the back, right? He's actually doing a really good job individually. And of all the players that we talk about when it comes to longevity, Crims is not the one who's been talked about the most at any point in history, but has consistently been good in tier 1 over time.
I think, by the way, he would be my pick for the player with the true best longevity ever. Like,
right.
Just like you say, he's basically never been bad, ever.
Like, people always try to give it to Forrest, but Crims has actually been competing, Crims is what everybody kind of wishes Forrest did, but Crims is doing it still.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that one, but I think it's impossible with his lineup. Like, if he was the star player of the team, then maybe there's like some off chance, but I feel like he's doing too much from behind to like make this possible for Fnatic. I'm sure that's not.
Who would your pick be for the underdog run, Landers?
Yeah, I think that the only the person I think would be they haven't won one before. It's still a team we'd expect to see in top 8 maybe, but that's ENCE, because I think Snappy in the past like 2 years has shown that he's actually like probably a top 2 IGL in terms of the names that he's brought into tier 1 from tier 2 have just instantly become insanely good. Like, we got the only reason Vitality have a chance at this major is because Snappy raised Spinks' value so much that they picked him up, and then he honeymooned, and then they didn't know what to do with him. And then they brought him back to where he was. Spinks would not be the player he is today if not for Snappy. Nerts instantly from tier 2, lots of promise, as we've seen from lots of players. Sort of reminds me of like Flames, for example. To use another Israeli example, Flamesy, played on OG. He's been up and down, not reached that potential at all. What if he played under Snappy? When we see someone like Nerds, we're like, wow, anything's really possible when it comes to Snappy. Sun Pius, right from Movie Star Writers, obviously could be very good, but also tier 2. Snappy has never had the tier 1 litter in the same way like Kerrigan has had lots of tier 1 players to pick from and also made a lot of rookies very good. But Snappy, he talked about the Danish ladder in terms of what options he gets, and he has always been at the bottom of the barrel in terms of what players he can get. And that's why ENCE went international. And as soon as it went international and he got all those tier 2 picks, he brought them up and has made ENCE not only one of the best farm teams, but also one of the best teams as well. Like, if we look at Mouse, they have consistently sold off tier 1 and great players over time and never been contenders for trophies, except for that period of time where they had Kerrigan on it. Yeah, and they had like the Summit and everything like that. But ENCE have also had to suffer from selling off some of their best players and also been tournament contenders at the exact same time, which I don't know if anyone in the roster can say that.
I will say ENCE was going to be my pick. I mean, similar reasons. Like, I actually just think it would be really cool for Snappy to have like a playoff run in the end of his fucking career. Because if people don't know, he's one of those people who tragically, like at the majors, he never had the runs there. It was always the other tournaments and the medium-sized events and stuff. So, by the way, I think, except for Antwerp last year, so basically, I think it would also just be a cool way to end the game. I mean, he's basically had like a mini Carrigan renaissance where people counted you out, but at the end, you actually had maybe your best period ever. And then also, the Nerds one's a brilliant one because, like, the joke is, it almost sounded cynical. Like, wait a minute. So you guys haven't been good since you had Spinks. You just recruited any Israeli player. Like, all right. But it turns out they're actually all cracked out. Like, if people don't know, sure, it's only, like, I looked it up now. He's only played 23 maps on land this year. But Nertz's numbers are 1.22 rating, 1.31 impact rating. He has 0.79 kills per round and 0.63 deaths per round. Like, an 83 ADR, like that's bonkers.
What's super impressive about Nertz's numbers like that is that it wasn't just a plug and play for what Spinks used to do also for Ents. Like it's actually he recognized, or Snappy recognized, Nertz's ability to just be a great entry fragger or a more explosive player in general, and he's put him in a lot of positions, and that's why I think the impact rating is probably really high, because he's just getting a lot of opening kills on top of the plays that they like to run out of spawn. And then he actually can slow the rounds down pretty well right now, too. I think, yeah, Snappy's a really cool one in general, because he's definitely one of those in-game leaders that doesn't have the hardware to prove that he was an excellent leader, but you kind of can only do so much as your org's pocketbook sometimes allows. So, yeah, it would be super cool.
And also, just like Heroic, another team that's actually just a good T-side team that have real strats you can watch and go, this is fundamentally good. I can explain why this is good. It's not just players doing brilliant things and then going like, did the IGL want him to do that or not? It's not like that shit. Like when you watch Snappy and Katie, you just know they did a good game. You can just give them props, can't you? What about... all right, is there another one we need for this one? Is there another Underdog one that could be good?
I mean, Liquid are like the least likely team that should still be able to somehow do it, you know? Like they actually do have an argument from the player's perspective and have enough wins over a lot of the teams in top 10 to say that they could make it far enough, like their ESL Pro League run. I mean, you even have things like OC in playoffs somehow is even better than in group stages. So and like Alige is having a really good form recently, which is something he hasn't been able to do consistently with Yakinder on the team at the same time. So that's huge to pair with Nafly, who's been the most consistent. So I just don't believe Liquid will make it out of Legends this time. I just don't, but I actually think they have players that you could see in semis easily.
You know what's sad is, like, on paper, like, they are only number 8 ranked. Like, in theory, I'm supposed to say Furia could. Like, Furia's in the semis in the last major. Like, on paper, Kisratos one of the best players in the world. But, like, the problem is that's, like, probably... They're probably the worst of the big teams. Like, I have no faith in this team whatsoever. Like, I could see this team... I could see them making 8 top 8, but I could also see them completely blowing the fucking Swiss.
What's interesting about Fury is that what we noticed at the Americas RMR, though, is that they didn't always just play this balls to the wall style every single round. Like, they had a little bit more of a tempered aggression, especially when they played against Liquid in their series. That makes me think that they actually they're trying to, like, make their style a little bit more sophisticated or more European. And so I think that could catch off a couple teams, but if you're just adopting a new style for a high pressure event, then it's going to be really tough to imagine that you're going to actually have a really deep run. But it's very possible to believe, like, I think they're going to definitely like go 2-3 at a minimum in Legends, but that's such like a, what does that claim? You know, that doesn't really say a lot. Like, but I don't think they're just going to get like blown out. I mean, despite all of the flack that they've been getting and Art's been getting lately, they still have in my eyes, the best rifler today in Queserato. I still think he's the best.
Here's how I'm doing it, Launders. You have to understand, in the modern day, the way I'm wrecking people, I'm doing like Trump-style nicknames for them that just stick, and then it fucks with you because it like sort of embodies something about you. So you know how when someone dies on stream, famously what you do is you press F in chat, don't you? Well, we all know Art dies all the fucking time. So when he dies, his alter ego is fart because you press F. So it's F and then capital T at the end. So I'm going to run with that, boys. It's going to get real old before it ever gets good, put it that way. Don't worry about that. So I'm taking Fury to fail this major. There you go.
It's your Nafoni.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, by the way, you know, that's also how you know that it does work when you do these nicknames, Launders, because when I did like my first like top 10 again, except it was actually my top 10, not like top 10 rankings, I did accidentally write Nafani, but with a PH, because he must have just like, exactly, right. The brainworm got to me. Even though I was writing his name for real, I put PH instead of F.
I literally DM'd Thorin and was like, hey, there's a typo in this.
Isn't that terrible? So I saw it, I was like, nah, what the fuck? It's bullshit. Because in my brain, I must have rewritten his name over like it's Nafani, so. See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.